Good afternoon, gamers, and welcome to another episode of Games with Dave. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by one of the members of the Stockholm Kartell, Pelle Nilsson, the designer and writer of Mörk Börg, of which I would like to be taught the proper pronunciation of at some point today, because I have the feeling I'm saying it wrong, saying Mörk Börg, and with the umlauts on there. So I know I'm saying it wrong. Welcome to the show, Pele. I've been looking forward to this since we talked about it back in July.
Nice to be here, Dave. It's really nice to be here and talking to you.
Well, thanks for coming
on. If I'm
on.
correct, it's quite a new show for you as well. So,
yeah, I started it 3 years ago, and then I stopped doing it for a little while, and I just got back into doing it again this year. So, and so far, so good. So,
yeah.
So the first question I always ask everyone is, what got you into gaming and lit the fire inside you to be a game designer?
Yeah. It's quite a long story, but when I was a kid, a young kid, like 10 years old or so, it was quite a boring time in Sweden. We had like 2 TV channels, and we were out playing in the woods. And then there was a company in Sweden that started out, and they published those role-playing games. Like, you maybe heard of Dragonbane.
Yes.
It's called Drakar and Demoner in Sweden, and that was out in 1982. So when I found out about these games, maybe in 85 or something like that, that was fantastic for me. So that was where it started. The rules were a bit vague and so on. So it created a spark in everyone to come up with their own things and so on, and create your own adventures. So there was no gaming world or something like that, no setting. So you had to do the setting by yourself. So I guess that was the time when it started for me. And I wrote my first role-playing game and my first adventure maybe when I was 10 or 11 years old or something like that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Dragonbane a lot. And
yeah, the other game was Mutant. That was the other game that this company published as well. So Mutant was a big game in Sweden as well. The like Scandinavian post-apocalyptic role-playing game. It was very cool.
Now, is that the same one that Free League is making now with Mutant Year Zero? Or
yeah, it's the same. They have the license to publish that game from the same guy that put out Mutant back in 1984. So
very
it's
cool.
the same game.
Nice.
Yeah,
that is very cool. And you guys actually have a pretty good relationship with Free League as well. How did that come to be from you being an independent publisher? Did they approach you, or did you approach them about distributing?
We approached them, but Johan Noor, the art guy.
Yep. Who I should have gotten on here with you. I didn't even think of that until after, and I'm like,
no, but it's nice to have an interview without him sometime as well. We are always together, and he gets all the interviews because of all the cool art. So it's nice to be on board without him every now and then as well. But he had done some projects with Free League before. we got to know each other. So he had a way, he was emailing them, and showed some illustrations, and we displayed the setting. And Free League was a bit unsure in the beginning. I think they had some kind of voting going on in the company if they should do this or not. And then they agreed to publish this game. But Johan had helped them before. Like, for example, he made the maps for Mutant Year Zero.
Oh, cool.
When you buy the box, it's his maps in the box. So, and now various other things as well. So we had a little bit of a connection with them already.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that helped with the vote.
Yeah.
So how cool is it to be able to go from creating this game to having action figures for the game?
Yeah.
I mean, that is just crazy.
It's very cool. I mean, we have had quite a lot of collaborations with lots of people. It's not only the miniatures. It's also, we did a vinyl record. Yeah. And stuff like that. We always felt, and we still feel like it's cool to make this stuff that are not books, like not role-playing game books. We like to make other stuff as well, like vinyl records and miniatures and so on. And then this company, Westphalia, reached out to us and wanted to create miniatures with us. So that was really cool. Sometimes we reach out, like we reached out to Greg Anderson from the band Sun when we did the vinyl record, and he agreed. And sometimes people contact us and we agree. So it's a very nice environment. If you ask people, almost everyone will say yes if you have an okay product to present. So it's very nice. We are very humble as well.
That's kind of what we were talking about before we went live. Was all you've got to do sometimes is ask. And
it was like that with also when we had the Kickstarter, we made this tape that was you could get when if you backed us in the Kickstarter. So we reached out to them and they said yes. It's an Italian company that makes those tapes, and so that's it. You have to ask. If you don't ask, nothing happens.
That's right.
Yeah.
Richard asked, how much of an inspiration was Drakenborgen for you in developing Mörk Börg? And I can sense the same sort of terse but evocative and clean style.
Yeah, it's Drakenborgen is a Swedish board game that came out in the 80s as well. I don't remember what it exists in English, in an English version as well. Maybe I don't remember the name of it, but it Hero Quest.
Yes.
Yeah, Hero Quest. I think it's Hero Quest. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm going to look it up for us and see.
Yeah. I think it's called Hero Quest. Maybe you will get a comment in the chat that it's correct or not. But that was that I actually never played that game. It's very strange. I should have, because I was in that environment, and I played Talisman and other games. But Drakborgen or Hero Dungeon Quest. Okay.
Dungeon Quest.
Okay, yeah. I actually never got to play that game, so I was more inspired by computer games back from the 80s, like Dark. What was that called? There was a computer game on the Macintosh. It was called Dark Castle. It was called.
Okay.
I played that a lot back in the 80s. So that was a huge inspiration, but actually not the Drakborgen or game. Actually, I started to play that only one or 2 years ago with
very cool. Yeah, because they re-released it, right? And
yeah, they re-released it 2 times. I think it was first a Kickstarter that was really fancy and fantastic. A fantastic project, but then they released the old company that released the game back in the 80s. They released it again maybe 1 year ago, so everyone can buy it, and that's the version I'm playing now with my kids. And but now I can see that I can understand why people think we were inspired by that game. Yeah.
So how did you get Mörk Börg from a little 4-page game? I have Dark Fort. Yeah. That was inspired by Dark Castle, the Macintosh game back in the 80s. Gotcha.
Yeah. I started out with that solo game. It was not that complicated that Dark Fort is, even though it's not that complicated. It was even more streamlined. But me and Johan had done a game before Mörk Börg, which is a Swedish Scandinavian horror game. A bit like Blair Witch Project, set in the Swedish woods. Maybe if you've seen the Ritual movie.
Yes.
It's a bit like that, with evil folklore monsters. So that was the first game it's called Barkhäxan. It's like bark from the tree, not barking, it's bark from the tree, bark witch. We will maybe come to that later, but I want to publish that in English as well, that horror game.
Very cool.
So now, what was the question?
Well, that's fine. How did you go from Dark Fort to?
Yeah. And then after that Barkhäxan, Bark Witch project, me and Johan had a connection, and we talked to each other. And I said, if I write anything, I do that for free. And Johan said to me that if I make an illustration, I do that for free if we have a project together. So that was really, really great, because none of us have to pay anyone. We do it together for free. So that's often there's a writer that have a project, and he or she pays the illustrator. But we don't have that kind of relation. We work for free when we do something together. So that's fantastic. And after that horror game project, I said that I want to create a scene, a really scene where we go crazy without any borders, no limits. And Johan was working at with commercials or something like that, like a art guy in the commercial company, and that was very strict. You can do that, but not that, and so on. You can use this color, you can use these fonts, but this is not okay. So we wanted to, break all the borders and create a really cool zine. And then it grew from that, from one paper and the solo game you mentioned, Dark Fort, into a book. And after we got contact with Free League, we expanded it even more, so it could actually be a printed hardback book.
Very cool.
Yeah. So
And as I understand it, every penny that you made from the Kickstarter, you put into the book.
Yeah, that was it. More or less all money went to the printing, and we also went to some few cons to promote the book and stuff like that. So we didn't get any money from the Kickstarter in our pockets, so to speak.
That is so cool that everything went into the book and promoting the book.
Yeah.
And just bringing it to life. And I would say it has definitely paid off with like the popularity of the game. Now, is it true that you have never played the game?
It was true 2.5 years ago.
Ah, okay. Well, you have played it since.
Yeah. Yes. It's true that when we released and published and released the game, I had never played it. I had play tested some rules, but I actually never played the game. And after the Kickstarter, and when the game became quite popular, I was a bit. I spent a lot of time making it as a good book as possible text-wise. So when we released the book and it became popular, I was feeling a little bit fed up with the book. So it took me maybe 2 years or something like that before I wanted to touch the book at all.
I can understand that.
Yeah. Then I opened the book, and actually it's, and especially I didn't even read the English version at all before. I was very focused on the Swedish version, and I was putting my trust into the guys that did the translation and the editing of the English version, that it would be very good. So it took me, I opened the English version after maybe 2.5 years or something like that.
Nice. And it was Patrick Stewart that translated it, correct?
No, actually, it was Johan Nord.
Oh, that's right. That did it for.
He translated it, and then Patrick Stewart, what do you call it? Curated it.
Yes. Yep.
He put some spice into the text, so to speak, and so that was really good. And now that I've read the book, it's fantastic, and the English version as well. So the tone differs a little bit if you compare the Swedish version and the English version. They are little bit different in the tone. There are no, you don't miss out on anything if you read the Swedish or the English, but they are a bit, different in the tone. Maybe I'm a little bit more, what do you call it? Swedish in my kind of tone.
Right.
I don't like to use a lot of words. And Patrick was maybe more like he wanted to spread out, and
we are very verbose, us Americans.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really love is the let's go mentality that is with this book.
Yeah.
And that there's no intro like every other book out there that's like, this is what an RPG is. This is what the dice look like.
Yeah.
What was it that, were you just tired of seeing the same thing and that's what brought that up?
Yeah.
Or
it was not like trying to be elitistic or something like that.
No, I don't think so at all.
It was more like you said, it was very important. That was a design goal as well, both text and art wise. But we wanted to, if you know role-playing games, I wanted to create a text that you could start playing in about 10 minutes and understand the rules and start playing. So that was very important. So we skipped that part. What is a role-playing game, and what is 3d6? What does that mean, and stuff like that. That was, so we started out with the setting.
I love how you did it.
Yeah.
It is just amazing to open the book and just get right to it's almost like you skipped the appetizer and went right to the main course, and I love it.
And in the front end and the back end of a book, you have first, you can create a character more or less, and you have it's random tables that is very useful when you play the game. Yep. And in the back end of a book, you have how to create a character. So it was very straight to the point. This kind, the design goal we were after, and it was also very important that you shouldn't feel overwhelmed when you read the setting. So I think the setting is like 10 or 12 pages of the various locations on the map.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and lots of unanswered questions. So that was supposed to spark your imagination and make it your own game. That was very important.
Like when you were a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
The same way.
Yeah. So. It's I really like games with a lot of setting like Forbidden Lands or what more? Like games like Call of Cthulhu. If you want to get involved in the lore and stuff like that, you have to read quite a lot. And I really like those games as well. But this game that we did together was not supposed to be that kind of game. We wanted to get it up to the table so you could start playing in 15-20 minutes or something like that, including reading the setting.
Yeah. Well, you certainly accomplished it very well. So
thank you.
And so how happy does it make you to see all the third-party games that are derivatives coming out, like the Tommy Sunzenauer and Pavu Kickman and others are making?
Yeah, it's fantastic. And it's amazing, and we still don't believe that it's true. and now when we have been to England and we've been to the US on cons, and we met a lot of those guys that have made third-party license products, and they are actually they have made it a living. So it's fantastic to see all this. It's unbelievable, actually, and it's still
kind of humbling. I mean,
yeah, I'm very humble still. It's hard to believe, actually. That was a dream come true. We wanted the initial what we were aiming for was like creating a small community that played this underground game, but then it turned out to be like I'm not sure. I think it's like 2,000 products.
Yeah.
There's a guy that have a website where everything that has been made is on that website. I think it's 1,500, 2,000 products.
That's
crazy. Fantastic. Yeah. I think that has inspired a lot of other people as well to be very generous when it comes to the license of the game.
I would agree.
Yeah. So I think I'm not sure about this, but I think Free League helped us to get this book, and they promoted it, and they have it on all the cons everywhere they go and so on. So we got a lot of help from Free League also when it comes to the popularity, I think. But I also think that we inspired Free League to release this the third-party license for Mutant Year Zero and other games that they have, because they recognized that this was a successful thing to do, and to be generous and don't count the cash, so to speak. Yeah.
You've done such a marvelous job of building a community around this game in the truest of senses out there. And that's one of the things, and everybody is so approachable, so nice, and so willing to help each other out to get their work published.
Yeah. And it's fantastic. And if you look at the game, I was when we released the game and all this happened, I was very worried that it will be like a toxic community, because it's quite a strange game, and a little bit edgelordy, so to speak. And everyone doesn't understand it's the humor is the most important ingredients in the book. It's not that it's dark and you die very easily. It's the humor that is most important. And I was a bit worried that it would, lots of people that would be very unwelcoming would come to our community and make it toxic. But that didn't happen. So it's like you say, everyone is very, very, it's been very smooth and it's a very nice community and very welcoming, and it's fantastic. I'm very happy about that.
Philip wanted to know if Barkhäxan, if you would consider writing adventures or additions to it to expand it into a fuller world.
If not if, it's when we translate this into English and publish it for people outside of Sweden as well. We will expand it quite a lot. I already have done many random tables, and there will be a lot more lore. There will be a lot more creatures. There will be a lot more of everything, and I will write a lot. There are 2 published adventures for the Swedish book, and we will translate these 2 because people have been playing them and enjoying them. So we will translate those 2, and we will make a couple of more adventures as well in the start. So yes. And not only that, I think, and I don't want to spoil too much or promise too much, but there will be a lot more art in it as well. And we will try a new approach with this book, and that is like poems will be adventure seeds. So it will be like maybe this is the book with the rules that is very streamlined and very easy to get into, and maybe then we create a bigger product like an poem, an art book that will include adventure seeds. The poems will be adventure seeds, like I said, as well. So it will be fuller, like Philip asked. Yeah.
And let me see here. And Rickard asks, what inspired you to have the roles be player facing?
Yeah. A couple of that was a couple of design goals. The first one was that we wanted the players to roll the dice, so if they die, it's not the game master's fault. it was the player that made that roll. So it's like it's an honest roll, so to speak. It's nothing behind the screen going on. So you see all the rolls on the table. And the other design goal was to release the game master from making he or she can focus to tell the story and the adventure, and not dice rolls or anything like that. That was very important as well. So you can tell your adventure and roll on your inspiration and get going without being interrupted with dice rolls. That was very important, that the game master can do that as well. So that's the two reasons why we have it player facing.
Very cool. I like it. I think it's a great way of doing things. And Phil said he was unaware that there were already adventures for Barkhäxan.
Yeah.
And then to tail Phil's question, will the Swedish book get the same updates to match the English version?
Yeah. If we now I say the word if again. I mean when we translate the book into English, I would like to make a second edition of Barkhäxan in Swedish as well. It's actually the game that I feel is closest to my heart. Now we have a Mörk Börg interview, but that game is very close to my heart. So it's very important for me to that the Swedish version will get the same attention as the English version. So yeah, all the stuff will be in Swedish as well. It's very important.
Hey, Pavu jumped in and he says, "Hi, Dave," and "Hi, Pelle. How you doing, buddy?"
Yeah.
I have interviewed him 4 times now. I think we've talked for every one of his projects. Such a great guy.
Yeah.
He is. So is it the poetry that makes it so special to you? We can even talk about that. I could talk to you for hours. So
yeah.
Is it the poetry that makes that game so special to you, and doing the poems as seeds? Because I know you also write poetry in addition to the games.
Yeah. That was the thing I did before I started to write role-playing games for real. I released 6 or 7 books of poetry before that in Swedish.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that Barkhäxan is also Mörk Börg somehow. I think at least the setting of Mörk Börg, not the rules. They are very not so poetic, but the setting and the text in the horror game Barkhäxan, they are supposed to be a bit like poetry. Yeah.
It's funny because I thought that the first time I read it, the words in Mörk Börg are very rhythmic in the way that they flow through the book, like telling the story of the setting. It's not like it's just, here is our setting, this is it. It's got a wonderful flow to it of how the setting weaves itself in the book.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm saying that the right way. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. That was very important when I did and it's great that that's still the feeling you get when you read the English version. And I think Patrick Stewart did a fantastic job with keeping that and even expanding the poetic feeling of the setting in Mörk Börg.
And Phil says you have a wonderful poem on the back of Heretic, if I recall, which I have right here.
Yeah, maybe.
So,
Yeah, it was.
you want me to read it?
Thank you. Yeah, do that if you can read it.
Yeah. My inner light is evil spark, illuminating all in dark. Tithe unto me you. Oh boy, yeah. Now it's getting harder to read because of the text. But
Yeah, me, you won. Oh.
When I die, you within my pale, my spark, and you shall be a flame. All souls by this shall be defamed. Seeing what shadows had concealed, the rusty nail to all reveals. Other cults shall find no repent or reprieve from what took on night to believe. I usually have a very hard time. I'll have to go through just because of the style usually and read things a few times before I can my brain will process it. But that's one of the things that I love about it is that it also allows you to do what you were saying of build it in your own mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You talked prior about you're quick at writing and Johan is quick at making art. Do you have a method for writing or is it more a sit down and get shit done situation? Any tips for creators?
Oh, yeah. I understand the question, and it's true that both me and Johan work very fast. I write very fast, and Johan can make a fantastic illustration in a couple of hours as well. And when we did both the books I've been talking about, and especially Mörk Börg, we did that very fast. I started to write it in the autumn of 2018, and then it was sent to backers. I think it was November 2019, and then you have all this other stuff going on, like printing and shipping and stuff like that in that time as well. So it took maybe half a year or something like that to write Mörk Börg. And I was so yeah, I think both me and Johan has this feeling that time is running close at hand. I think we are both afraid that we need to get this done now because we might be dead next month or something like that. We are more optimistic than that, but I think we have that feeling when we are in the creative process that we need to do this fast, and we are not. I'm not feeling this stressful or something, and Johan is not feeling stressful either. We really enjoy to be in the fire, if you understand what I mean. We like to be in the fire, and I saw that I was supposed to give some tips as well, but so that was a really lucky call that both me and Johan are working so well together, and also that we are working some kind of, I'm not sure what it's called in English, maybe agile. I can write a text, and you want to get inspired by that. So he make an illustration, and he can make an illustration, and I get very inspired by that before I have even been writing a text, and he sends that to me. So I get inspired by that and write text from that illustration. It's not like I'm writing and he makes an illustration out of the text. I think that's the normal case when you make a book. So it was working from both ways for us. So we were like bombing each other I was sending text and he was sending illustrations, and I think that was why it happened so fast. It might also be the case that if we don't make this fast, we might grow tired of it, and it will never come to an end. We will not finish this project, so we have to hurry up before that happens. So yeah, it's not. It's hard to give any tips because we were really lucky that we are both the same. We work for free for each other, and we inspire each other in this process that are going back and forth. That was a long answer.
That was a great answer. And it sounds like you have a very symbiotic relationship that's like interwoven with one another. Like, I don't, what's the way I want to say it? Like you found the person you were meant to work with.
Yeah, I think that's that doesn't happen to everyone that is creative. Most of the creative people that I met, they are working in their own bubble, and when you do that, it can be very hard to get things done. But so we were really lucky that we met each other and worked so well together, and it's not only it's one important thing that I have to mention now when we're talking about that. It's that neither of us, we didn't give a shit about money or anything or the business when we did the book. Maybe now we maybe think about that a bit more, but we didn't think about that when we made the book. So it was, maybe that's the reason why it worked so well as well, because we both had jobs we really enjoyed. We could provide for our families, put food on the table, and we were really happy about the situation that we have job-wise. So this was a hobby that we so I think we were really relaxed when we made the project, and I think that shows in the product as well, that it's quite a relaxed book. Have fun with it, and
but
we tried to do our best, and hope you have fun with the book. It was that kind of feeling, like we were rehearsing music, if you compare it to musicians, we were only jamming in the rehearsal studio, and try to have fun together.
So it sounds like the key is don't give a shit and have fun.
Yes, that's very important. I think when you start to when you start to think about business and money, that limit your imaginations and create that a bit. You can sense that stress in the product.
Yeah, it makes
very
sense
often
because
when you're in it for the, if it's you're in it, it's life and death situation, and stuff like that. And when you are very desperate to get a publisher to publish it and so on, I think it shows in the product.
that makes a lot of sense, because that's going to take up a portion of the creative space in your brain.
Yes.
Thinking about that.
Yeah. And that's I'm very happy about the third-party license situation, like we talked about before, with all the products that has been published and has been very successful by other people. But if I come up with a great idea for something, it has already been done by someone else. So that's the negative part of a third-party license. But yeah, it's great.
And let's see, what were your main inspiration for the mechanics in Mörk Börg, and how hard was it to balance feature creep and keeping it small, simple, and getting out of the way?
My main inspiration for the mechanics, it was very important that when you play Mörk Börg, it's very important for me that you don't have to think about the rules. And so I tried to create a system that was, the game master only have to set this difficulty level, which you need to hit when you roll a d20 and add the modifiers for your ability. So that was the simplest design I could think of back then when I wrote Mörk Börg. After we released Mörk Börg, I read the 5e, the Dungeons and Dragons 5e, and noticed that it's the same. They have the same system, so it's a bit. It's more or less the same system as Dungeons and Dragons 5e. We don't have advantage and disadvantage, but I didn't know about that. And that's not a joke. It's actually true. So yeah, I guess they did something right with the 5e game. I haven't played 5e, but yeah. And we didn't think about too much about balance and stuff like that when we created the creatures. Some creatures are really tough to kill, and some are very easy to kill. And so we didn't. I think it's quite easy for the GM to create, if he or she wants to create balanced combat. It's quite easy to check the hit points and the armor and stuff like that, and the damage they can make when they hit you. So the most important thing was, of course, to get the system out of the way. So it was also very important that if you have new players at the convention, for example, or at the pub or wherever you want to play, you don't really need to explain the rules, more or less. You can ask the players to roll a d20 and add the modifier. So they don't have to understand the rules. And on the character sheet, you can read that, okay, I can use the omens to do this and that. I can make maximum damage or whatever with omens. And and the magic, the scrolls are explained on the character sheets as well. So I think that it's the answer to that question, to get the system out away from the table when you are playing. Yeah.
Yep. And then Pavel was wondering, do you sometimes read or play the third-party content or hacks like Pirate Borg, Vast Grim?
Yeah. Sometimes I play the third-party license systems. I've been playing Pirate Borg, for example, a couple of times. It's a fantastic pirate game, I think, and it's big business for them with Pirate Borg. That's fantastic, and we are good friends with the guy that Luke Stratton that made that game, and I met him 2 or 3 times in England and the US, and so it's fantastic to meet all the people that has made all these products, and I try to play as much as possible. But I think Johan tried to check out all the third-party license stuff that was released in the first couple of years, but then he lost track of it.
It's understandable because there is a lot, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Well, Phil took my last question, and I'm not giving you a hard time, Phil, but I do want to open it up if anybody has any more questions to ask Pelle before we go, just to make sure that we've got everybody's questions answered.
Yeah, I'm open for that.
And again, if no one has any questions, thank you so much for coming on. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, so. I try not to talk too much.
Oh, I think you did great. So, and I always encourage creators to talk because, these are almost like another form of a child for you with everything that you've put into them, of your heart and soul going into these projects, that it is, it's important for you to be able to talk about it, I think.
Yeah,
so I think that's why so many of my interviews can run 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
All right, Pelle. Well, it looks like everybody got to ask what they were asking. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No. Again, thank you everyone for making Mörk Börg this such a big game, that also that people are actually playing the game and make stuff for the game. We are very humble about that, and it's fantastic. It's 5 years ago since we released the game, but community is still very alive and kicking, and that was not what I was expecting from making this little game. So thank you, everyone.
We do have one more question. It says, if you had to do it again, any regrets or anything you would change?
Yeah, I'm not. Maybe I would change some of the rules to make them even more streamlined. It's a bit, I think so. Like the armor rules, you roll a die to negate damage, like a D2 for light armor and a D4 for medium armor and stuff like that.
Yep.
When you get hit, maybe I would have streamlined that a bit more, so you didn't have to make a roll. Maybe create a bit more funny reaction table. Now it's more standard reaction table when you meet a creature. Other than that, I would not like to change anything. I think I'm really happy about the system and the 4 abilities that included in the game that covers almost everything, and very happy about the setting. So yeah,
like Richard was saying, you should be very proud of what you created. And Pabu said, nothing more to ask for now. Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure to listen to this interview while creating third-party Mörk Börg content.
yes. Yeah, let us know when you create content. We have if you're on Facebook, we have this group called Talk Mörk Börg. That is, I publish things there, and everyone can publish things there. So if you make something, remember to make a post in that Facebook group if you're on Facebook, so that everyone gets to know about your product. It's fantastic to see everything that comes out and all the Kickstarters and whatnot.
It is very cool.
Yeah.
And the one last we've got, it says, please keep writing for Mörk Börg.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah. That's right. That has, like I mentioned early in the interview, has been when I talked about that I didn't want to touch the book for 2 years or something like that. It has been a little bit of and also the overwhelming amount of products that had come out from the third-party license that I'm really happy about, and it's really fantastic. But I also mentioned that if I come up with an idea, it has already been made into into a fantastic product by someone else, and I cannot do it any better. So, but we have some few things coming up. Like, I don't want to spoil too much, but we want to get in. First of all, we want to have a printed map for everyone to have and be able to get. And we want to zoom in a bit more so that at least double up the locations on the map. So then you get a new map and a more detailed setting as well. So that's what I really want to make for Mörk Börg as the next thing, and it's coming along good. It's not something that will take a long time for us to make, and yeah, I think that will be the next thing, apart from other projects that we're making with collaborations and stuff like that.
Well, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, Pelle, I will let you get back to your family, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to talk to me.
The kids are going to bed by themselves. They are so old now. So I can stay here for an hour if you want. No.
Hey, don't tell me that. I'll keep you talking forever.
Yeah. So it was great talking to you, Dave, and it was nice
You as well.
with all the questions. And
And thank you everyone for tuning in. And in my case, have a good afternoon if you're in the US, and have a good evening if you're over in Europe. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.